Good morning, student. Yes, better. So now we are going to revise the chapter, the desert. And all the students, some of the students will come forward one by one and tell the portions of this chapter. So first of all, Ara Prabhakar, please come.
From a common man's view, the desert is an endless stretch of land which is hot and humid, where there is hardly any vegetation. And from the point of view to the people who study desert, it is a very beautiful place. It consists of people and animals who have learned to survive in this hot and dry adaptations.
Is it clear what is the desert? According to common man, it is a dry, hot, waterless, without shelter. But this is not entirely correct, because for those who have studied it, the desert can be a beautiful place. It is the home of a variety of people, animals, plants that have learned to live under very hot and dry conditions. What more about deserts? Who can tell me what more about deserts? Yes, Vipul, come better. About desert only. जो आपने पहले बताया.
True that the deserts are not always hidden with the grass and the trees. It is a long stretch of sand, but is a oasis.
But whenever it rains,
which is rare, the flowers in the desert blooms. It is a very
and the site can be as rewarding as that of any tropical region. What is tropical regions?
evergreen
Grasslands. What are tropical regions? Grasslands. So उनका जो view है, that can be like a grassland whenever it rains there. Okay? Every time it is not hidden by a grass cover, but whenever it rains, it looks like a tropical region. Now, what about oasis?
The oasis is a green island in between the desert. It is like a grassland where all the plants and grass grows up. There are sand dunes in the deserts which are waterless. The sand dunes move from one place to another across the desert. Sand dunes are the heap of sands that originate with the help of air.
Yes. When the strong wind blows, they raise heap of sand and deposit them as mounds. And they are called sand dunes that shift and move endlessly across the desert. So if you are asked about sand dunes, you must write about all these things. And next is about this desert animals. So we'll tell about desert animals. First of all, about camels. Yes, Rami, come with it. She'll tell about only camels, and the next student will tell about the smaller desert animals.
There are many animals which have adapted themselves to the harsh conditions of the desert. Camel, which is known as the ship of desert, has adapted itself to live in the desert. It can drink a lot of water at that time, so it doesn't need much water. They can withstand very high body temperature, so they don't sweat and therefore can retain water for many days.
Yes, because camels don't sweat more. So what happens? They can retain that water in their body and they can stand high temperatures. They don't need to sweat and can therefore retain the water. They drink for longer periods of time, unlike human beings. We human beings, we cannot bear high temperatures, and whenever we intake water, that water to constant the temperature, our body temperature and the temperature of surroundings. So we sweat and the water that we intake, that helps us to taking the sweat out. That is why it is there But camels, they can, because they can stand high temperature, so whatever the water they drink, they can retain inside their body to use it for a longer period. Now next about smaller desert animals. Yes, Javeer, come bete. Now next is desert plants. After this, the turn is of desert plants.
The smaller desert animals do not drink water. They burrow underground during the hot day and come out at night to eat. Some of them eat other plants and they get moisture. They get water from the meat in the form of moisture. Some other animals eat plants and get water from the plant juices.
Yes, they eat plants and seeds and get the water they need from plant juices. They live underground. Burrow underground during the hot day and come out during the night to eat. And some of the smaller desert animals, they eat other animals and get the water they need from the moisture in the meat. Meat के अंदर जो moisture होता है उसके साथ उनकी survival हो जाती है. And some desert animals eat other animals, other plants and seeds also, and they get that water from the plant juices. This is about desert animals. Now what about desert plants? Yes, Dhruv, come.
Like desert animals, desert plants have also adapted themselves to live in the deserts. There is a wonderful plant which is called cactus, which stores water in its thick stems. Its roots lie close to the surface so that it can absorb all the moisture from the rain that occasionally falls in the desert.
Okay, now who will tell about the reason of getting the deserts hot during day and cold during night? Extremely hot and extremely cold. Who can tell me the reason? Yes, Krish, come bete.
The moisture in the desert acts like a blanket of air.
Moisture in the desert?
Moisture in the air acts
In what areas?
in desert area.
Desert area में तो moisture है ही नहीं. There is absence of this layer. In the tropical areas, the moisture acts as a layer of blanket, acts as a blanket. Anyone else? Though the one who knows about it properly? In humid climates. Yes, Dhruv, come again.
The deserts unlike tropical regions, the deserts do not have a blanket of moisture which can protect it from the scorching heat of sun.
What does the moisture help to do? It acts like a blanket which prevents the sun rays to penetrate into us in a great amount, to a great extent. But in desert areas, this is absent, moisture is absent, so there is no layer of moisture there. That is why the rays of sun, they penetrate on the earth in a great extent, and that is why the deserts get hot during day. But during night, what happens? During night, the sun rays are not there. There is absence of sun rays, so the desert area gets rapidly cool. सुना है आपने सुना है जहाँ रेत होती है, रेत जितनी जल्दी गर्म होती है उतनी जल्दी ठंडी भी होती है. So that is the main reason that in desert areas it gets hot during days and it gets cold during night. Now to summarize this chapter, deserts are an important part of nature's great plan. They are there like the dense forests and the deep oceans. Just because they are hot and dry, one should not look upon them as a useless part of the earth. Clear? अभी बता दो बेटे चैप्टर किसको समझ नहीं आया. Whenever we try to learn the chapter in portions, for example, first of all we did about the definition of deserts, what happens there, what is the climatic condition there, what are sand dunes, what is oasis, etc. Then we came to desert animals, in which we did camels. We read about camels. Then we read about small animals, and then we came to the desert plants like cactus, etc. And then the reason of getting hot and cold, that reason. And in the end, we summarized the chapter. In this way, you can remember whole of the chapter. कि हम portions में इसको करेंगे कि what is told about the things in this chapter, only then we can remember everything. And whatever the scientific logics are there, whatever happens, what is the reason, that I mean you must be reading in your science and SS also, है ना? So here in this English we are just reading this chapter from the point of view of literature, but the great details you already must be knowing. I assume that you must be knowing all the details of everything, of oases, of cactus, of camels. Why do they sweat little? Why do we sweat more, etc. And the reason of getting the desert hot during day and cool during night. So these things you are reading in your science also. So I hope this chapter is clear to everyone. Is there any? Yes, bete, next chapter is the cop and anthem. Anji, who will tell about this, the introduction of the chapter? Arav Prabhakar, yes, bete. You have to tell everything in the chapter. Anji.
The main character of this story is Sophie. One day he was sitting down on a bench and the leaves of the
main character Sophie. SS में करवाते ना आपको ऐसे. The main points. हाँ. इतना बड़ा लिखोगे तो पूरा नहीं होगा ये हमारा डायग्राम. Do you know what is the main character of a story called? What is the main character of the story called? Huh? Sophie to his name. What is it called? Hero or heroine is main character of the novel, of the story is called protagonist. What is it called? Protagonist. Okay. Now Sophie is the protagonist of the story. He is the main character. What happens with him? So yes, he is a homeless and jobless man. So this is about his character sketch. We can say. Now after that we'll revise all the incidents. He found out about winter coming. Yes. He was in Madison Square in a park. He was in a park, restlessly moving in a park in Madison Square. And the signs were there that the winters were approaching. So for Sophie, it is very difficult to pass her days and nights sitting on a bench in the park. He didn't have a shelter. Shelter के spelling wrong है बेटे. Shelter लिखा हुआ. हाँ वही ना, होमलेस और जॉबलेस में शेल्टर आई क्या बेटे? He found a solution. Yes. He thought of a plan. He found out a solution. So what is the solution? Let him write, bete. He knew that the food in the, what are you writing? Jail was free. Okay. उसको पता था because he was spending his days and nights in a jail earlier also. ऐसे ही था उसके साथ. It was not for the first time that he was planning to go to a jail in the Blackwell's Island. He committed crimes on purpose. Yes, he committed crimes on purpose. What was his purpose? What was his plan? To commit something wrong, to commit a crime, and he would get arrested by a cop. Very good, Ara Prabhakar. None of his plans worked. The deliberate actions of crimes didn't serve the purpose. Whatever he did not get arrested by the cops for the one or the other reasons. The cops did not arrest him. I mean, there are so many incidents. Now we'll do all those incidents one by one. So what was the first incident? Now we'll do all the incidents one by one. First incidents, yes, Shreya. Come here, bete.
Incident was the first incident was to go into the restaurant and take
What is the pronunciation of RESTAURANT?
restaurant.
Restaurant. Restaurant. पीछे वाला जो T है, that is not clearly audible. Restaurant, not restaurant.
The first incident was to go into the restaurant and eat the food and not paying the bill. He tried this in 2 times, but he failed every time.
Anyone else? Yes, Rami.
Sophie's first plan was to go to a big restaurant and he will eat the food and not pay the bill. He thought that his upper clothes should look okay, and then he will go to the restaurant and he will order, and the waiter will bring him the food and he will eat, and after that he'll say that I have no money, and the restaurant owner will call the cop and the cop will arrest him.
But did it happen?
No.
Then tell full incident.
But when he went to the restaurant, the head waiter saw.
Restaurant.
But when he went into the restaurant, the head waiter saw his torn clothes.
When he stepped inside the restaurant, the head waiter saw his torn and broken shoes.
So he didn't allow Sophie to come inside the restaurant.
And he was thrown out of the restaurant. So this was the first trick that did not work for him. Now, what about second incident? Yes. Same hands. Baki. Karanpreet, come bete.
After his plan that he will go to a restaurant and eat meal, that plan failed. He turned back to Broadway, and at the corner of the 6th Avenue, he saw a shop with a big window with lightings in it. He picked the stone and broke it, and he thought that the cop that was standing nearby will catch him and he will go to the Blackbirds Island. But this didn't happen because the cop think that the person who had did this will not smile and talk to the cop this friendly.
Clear bete? Is second incident clear? In the corner of 6th Avenue, there was a big shop, there was a big glass windows, and what did he do? He just took a stone and just threw it on the glass window and it broke, and he thought that the cop standing nearby him will arrest him, and he was just smiling. But the cop didn't arrest him. Why? Because he thought that the person who will throw stone will not keep smiling and he will just run away from there. But Soapy was just stick to his place and he himself was offering to arrest him. So the cop thought that he was telling lie. So this plan also failed. Now coming on to his third plan. Yes. Anyone else? People come.
Sophie was sad because his second attempt failed. Then he was walking slowly. He saw a restaurant across the road. The food of the restaurant was not too good. He went inside with his
In that restaurant, he could enter with his torn shoes and torn clothes. No one would stop him entering in that restaurant.
He ordered food. Then he ate it, and after that, he said the waiter to call the cop as he don't have money. Then the waiter said him that no cop for you, and he threw him out of the restaurant and beat him. A cop was standing in front, but the cop started laughing and moved away.
Very good. Okay. So in the third incident, when he tried to enter restaurant, this time he was successful in entering because it was not that fine restaurant. The people could enter there with the torn shoes and clothes, and he would get a meal over there. When he had his meal, he was not able to pay the bill, and he said, "Ki please call the cop." But the owner said, "No cop for you," and all the waiters, they just threw him out of the restaurant, and cop standing there, he was just smiling to see him. So in this way, his third plan also failed. Yes, for fourth incident, Ritesh will tell us what happened. What was his fourth plan?
Then Sophie came near. Sophie came near a cop who was standing in front of a big theater. He thought of trying something else, and he began to shout loud. His voice was as loud as he can make. He was trying to show that he had drunk too much, but the cop turned his back. He said that it is one of the college boys. It won't hurt anyone, and we have orders to let them shout.
Yes, very right. Even the fourth time, the cop didn't arrest him, thinking him one of the college boys who was shouting over there, and they had orders not to arrest them as they would harm no one. So in the fourth plan, he again failed. Now the next incident. Shall I call you by name? Who it? Vikram ji, aaj.
In fifth incident, Sophie came near a shop in which a man was standing and he just took the umbrella. Then Sophie go away from there by taking the umbrella and the man starting following him. After some time, the man asks Sophie that umbrella is Sophie's, but Sophie does not answer him and again walked. Then after some time, there was a cop standing and the man asked again Sophie that it was his umbrella and cop came. The man also said that he got it from the restaurant. If it was Sophie's, Sophie can get it. But Sophie in anger said that it was his, but it was not.
Is it clear? कुछ clear हुआ? No. Anyone else? बेटे, your voice was very low. Ramnika.
To try his luck again, Sophie went into a shop in which a man was standing.
Buying the newspaper.
Buying a newspaper. And he quietly took the umbrella and went away. The man followed him and shouted, "This is my umbrella." But Sophie didn't stop. Then he said that call a cop if this is your umbrella. Then a cop came and he looked at the two men.
Anji bete, then Sophie came near a shop where a man was buying newspaper and in the corner lying an umbrella. He just stole that umbrella and the man followed him and Sophie said that it is my umbrella, but that man was saying that it was his umbrella. Then Sophie said, please call the cop. It is my umbrella. It is my umbrella. He was saying it deliberately so that the cop could come and arrest him. But the man, he himself stole that umbrella from somewhere else. Now he was scared. He thought that if cop would come, he would be arrested. So he just said that the umbrella is yours. You keep it. These things can happen in a city. No problem at all. So the umbrella man just hurried away. The cop helped a lady across the street. Sophie walked east. He threw the umbrella as far as he could throw it. Why? Because he wished to be arrested. But the cop thought that he was the king who could do no wrong. कि वो एक राजा की तरह जो कुछ भी गलत नहीं कर सकता. So this was his fifth plan that also failed. Now what happened next? Karanpreet, what happened next in the last incident?
When all his plans failed, he was going back to the park where he
Madison Square.
in the Madison Square where he lived. And at a quiet corner, he saw a house. A music was coming from a house where, and the music hold him there, and he found that it was his childhood home, and where
it was his childhood home and his life changed. His inner voice told him that he should be something in his life. He would make a man of himself again. When he was thinking about this, a cop arrested him, asking him why he was wandering there. So this is the irony of the life. When you expect something else, but happens with you is exactly opposite to that. I hope this chapter is also clear to you, bete.